Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey today continues on July 13th, 2021 at approximately 10:59 a.m. PST. Well, I did say I was going to start writing on my Yldrbac, on my Facebook page, Yldrbac, about the journey that I took to actually get to where I am now with the one task that I've got. I've got four major goals in my life. And like I said, the best way to figure out how to get your life to go properly, to go in what you consider a positive fashion, is to get focused on what you're not content with in your life right this moment. Now, everybody in existence is in exactly the same position right now. Okay? Every one of you is at exactly this point in time. Now, the present is the only time you can ever change anything. You can talk about what you should have done, the old saying, if I only knew then what I know now, my life would be a lot different. Well, of course it would be. But the reality is you didn't. So starting from where you are right this moment, this is when you start to change things. Now, that said, I'm going to get in the habit of doing this backwards from what I've been doing it. How about we get a thumbs up on the video and subscribe to our channel? Give us a thumbs up if you like it. Subscribe to the channel, and remember to tag that little alert bell on the right-hand side of it to let you know when the newest videos come up. Okay, every tool that I offer, is a tool I personally use. Okay, and I shouldn't say everyone. Virtually every one of the tools I use are tools that I personally use. There are some that I've offered people that I don't use. The most obvious for me is the issue of showing people how to quit smoking without withdrawal, without other substitutes, and without a whole lot of, it will take effort, and it is boring as heck to get it done. But the payoff is well worth it. Now, that said, okay, the four major goals that I've got, okay, in my life are: one, and it's not necessarily in this order, but one is to take this message. The reason I'm putting these videos out is to pass on one simple message to everybody in existence, whether they get it through video or whether they get it by talking to somebody that has seen it through video. Doesn't matter to me. Okay. And it's not a question of me personally desiring to be right smack in the middle of everything. It just seems to work out that way a lot of the time. But the message I return to pass on is that working together, we can make this a better world. Okay, and one of the tools that I definitely utilize quite consistently, pretty much daily, is a list of things that I have to get done. And I strongly recommend that you do so yourself. Don't mind me, I have a tendency of doing more than one thing at once. That would appear to be a normal thing for me. But when you're taking a look at it, take a look at where your life currently is and ask yourself this: are you content with where your life currently is right this moment? If the answer is yes, that's great. You're probably the only one on the planet, but hey, what the heck? Okay. In my case, I'm really not, which is why I've been making goals, and why, like yesterday, I mentioned I was going to put a post on my Facebook page, which is called Yldrbac. That's the name of the saga of novels that I'm writing. Okay, let's back that up half a second. The first big goal I've got is to spread word that we can, working in unison with each other, we can, if everybody works at it, make this a better world for all. Okay, or for most anyway. The second big goal that I've got is to get this saga written. Now, I'm about 25% of the way through writing the entire saga. Now, here's the thing. I mentioned yesterday I was going to start detailing my journey. Like my journey as far as writing the book, writing the Yldrbacian Chronicles. I said I was going to start going step by step through it. and actually document it, which is what actually I managed to do yesterday. So I'm going to be going and doing some more today, primarily because it's something that I feel will help me in the long run get everything in order. Okay, because there's a long story that goes with how the whole thing came about. And if you're writing, as I've told people, if you're aiming to do, if you've got a goal, or when you've got a goal, talk to somebody that has successfully done it. Now, I'm not a world-renowned writer yet. Okay, that is one of the, intriguingly enough, that is one of the goals that I've got. I've laid out the whole 9 yards in my own head, and most of it on paper, as far as what I'm looking at. When I talked to my marketing contact in Author House, okay, they are a publishing company from the States. And when I talked to them, I said I'd already looked through the possibility of down the road the story being picked up as a movie. Okay, and I've already worked it out on paper for myself what I'm willing to work with. Okay, not the price, because quite frankly, the price is a bit of a problem. That depends on them. Okay, what matters to me is whether I'm content with the offer they put on the table. But when you've got a goal, talk to somebody that's successfully done it. I have personally successfully taken a storyline that was written when I was 15 and have now got about 25% of the story completely written. The first book is out. The sequel, which will be the end of an epic, will be coming out later this year. I'm coming close to a third of the way through final edit. Okay, and that's something I'm staying on top of, because this is my second big goal, is to get that out. Now, intriguingly enough, I was talking to somebody about it the other day, and they asked me if there was a book that would come out. And like, I've got the 12 I'm already writing. And I was asked if there was going to be one coming after the 12. And the way I've ended it, and quite frankly, if you read the story, you'll find out why it works out that way. I've actually left it open-ended, so that is a possibility. I've just got no, at this point, plans for it. Okay. Now, with that in mind, okay, I'm going to be chronicling it. If you look up Facebook, you look up Yldrbac, which is Yldrbac on Facebook. Okay, or for that matter, if you search it on the web, you'll also find another way where you can actually pick up a copy of the first book. Okay, which is The Birth of the Wolfpack. But I've got a number of things on the go. That is my second major goal. And like I said, for you to change the energy in your world, figure out what you're not content with. Like if I actually had a mobile camera, I could show you the way the rest of this place looks. And something just dawned on me. I can't do it right now, but what I can do is take snapshots of the way my office looks, which I can update later. Now, that won't be obviously live pictures, but it will be a way to document what I'm referring to. Okay, and those I can always add in somewhere. But for the moment, that's the two goals that I have. Okay, the third one is to get the energy in my house running properly. Now, that is coming along nicely. Okay, that really is. From my standpoint, things are working quite nicely on that end. I haven't gotten to that point. I haven't got it all where I desire it yet. But at least it's getting organized. And that would be a rather critical issue. Okay, the hardest part in all of this is making certain that I personally understand what I'm aiming for. Okay, it's going to take a while, but the more I modify things, the more I move things where they belong, the easier things will run. And this is something you can find yourself. You don't have to take my word for it. As a matter of fact, I recommend you don't. Absolutely, if your life isn't running as smoothly as you'd like, then do your best to follow what we're talking about. The principle of Feng Shui actually works really well for redirecting where energy goes. Okay, and the first rule of thumb, and this is why, where did we put it? That'll work. This is why we have, why I'm giving step-by-step methods of doing it. Okay. The nice part about it is when you take a look at what your life is doing right this moment, you can turn around and modify it so that the energy runs more smoothly. The more smoothly the energy runs, the less stress you'll have around you. And again, don't just take my word for it. Okay, give it a shot. If you haven't done this before, if you're not content with the way your life currently is, then absolutely it's time to give it a shot. Okay, if your life is running smoothly, you don't need to. Obviously, at that point, everything's running fine. Why change it? There's an old saying that goes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Which I agree with. For me personally, there's a lot of things broken. Okay, but that's why I'm changing them. Now, I'm not the one to tell you whether your life is running the way you desire it to. I'm only the one to tell you that if it's not, talk to me. There's a number of different ways of contacting me below. Now, it was funny. I had somebody contact me at one of my contact points. She'd been referred because she's got a problem where it comes to, now she happens to be local, and that would be the critical factor here. Because she's local, she asked if she could, if I could give her a hand. She's got a couple of really violent residents, non-corporeals. Okay, so she asked me the price, and like I told her, well, this is what the price usually is. But price isn't really the issue. Okay, for me, it's a question of if you've got violent ghosts in your house, they don't scare me. Okay, I had one, it was funny because I went into the place and he was trying to cause all kinds of problems. I just looked at him and went, okay, you're done here, you're moving on. And he goes, I've seen you in hell. And I'm like, okay, let me get this straight. You know hell won't hold me, and yet you're still trying to tick me off. I says, tell me, is this the kind of stupidity that got you killed in the first place? Well, the long and the short of it was he vacated. We showed him where the error was and where what he was aiming at doing and why it wasn't working. I live in a very different world than most people, and when I talk about being a spiritual guide, I do not cotton to the idea of, I'm a spiritual guide, so let's kill everybody and let God sort them out. Okay, it's absolutely bizarre. Now, I will tell you, I've run into some interesting situations where people are claiming to be spiritual guides, and yet they are guiding people right smack into the middle of fear. Okay, now, if you're a spiritual guide and you're striving to lead people to a better life, fear is not the right door to go down. In my opinion, now, I don't know, to me, being afraid of everything around you doesn't make sense. Okay, now I do keep an eye on what's going on. Like, I do scan through Facebook periodically. I don't watch the news, I get enough information. We had a real bad accident here in Kelowna here, okay, that I just heard about just before coming to do this edition of the Journey. There was in downtown Kelowna, there was a major catastrophe. A crane up on top of a building, while they were trying to bring the crane down, collapsed. And the news report just finished broadcasting. Yes, there were many people killed. Okay, and this was right in the heart of downtown, from what I gathered from the news. Now, I wasn't down there, so realistically, I don't have a lot to work with. But my understanding is it was right in the downtown core. There were a number of people that died. Okay, and my heart really goes out to them and their families and the people that were left behind, the witnesses, the first responders. I mean, it's going to cause a shockwave through this city. There is no question there. The only positive side of it, and it's a real weak positive side, is apparently everybody that passed away was one of the workers. Now, this is not to say that that was a good thing. It's a horrendous loss. You know, it's one thing when you go to work as a police officer or as a fireman to go, I'm walking deliberately into danger. I may not be coming home tonight. Construction workers don't do that. They go to work going, I'm going in to put in a hard day's work and I'll be home in the evening, dear. This group of workers, unfortunately, is not going home for dinner. Okay. And my condolences really do go out to them. Okay. It's going to be, even if you weren't witness to it, like this is one of those events that I avoid the news for a lot of reasons. But this is one of those events, it's terrible, but it was a pure accident. Okay, at least as far as I understand. There's been no report of anything else, and I'm hoping nobody takes it with that. Okay, there was something that went wrong, and accidents do happen. Okay, but this is why it is so important that we focus on different things. Yeah, we're going to bother with that. That's somebody trying to phone me that, frankly, I don't want to deal with. So I'm not going to. Yeah, I still have people phoning me that I look at it going, I'm not talking to you. Okay, but when we work together, we can make this a better world for the majority of people. Okay, there will always be people, in all likelihood, that figure that they belong at the top of the totem pole. Okay, I mean, I can go on any site almost and find people complaining about what's wrong with the world. And most of them are complaining about really odd things. I mean, I heard of one today. There's been a number of real stupid maneuvers. Now, why? This is what I mean by the world has taken a real negative turn. With self-indulgence, self-expression, with little to no regard for other people. Okay, now, if you've got a computer, the odds are you know what an overpass is, what a pedestrian overpass over a highway or over a road is. And there are people out there that are literally throwing things off the overpass into traffic. Now, this is an absolutely heinous maneuver, in my opinion. And fortunately, and by the sounds of it, the local police here, the local city hall, is planning on putting up cages to stop people from doing this. Well, realistically, the police cannot see everything going on. Okay, so they're talking about putting up fences so that people cannot do that. Okay, and I heard tale of somebody complaining vehemently that they were wasting money doing that. Okay, now the reality of it is, that's one of those things when I look at what City Hall is spending money on, I'm going like, you know, they're trying to protect people because people are being just absolutely self-centered and stupid. But this is one time when City Hall is going, here's a problem we've got, let's do something intelligent with it. Now, will it cost a little bit of money? Certainly. Because I'm betting dollars to donuts that there isn't a company that's going to stand up and step forth and say, we're just going to do this out of the goodness of our heart. Now, I know for a certainty, in my case, if I had that kind of money and that kind of company, I have no doubt I would be doing something like that. I've gone into restaurants when I've had very little money and gone, okay, that table over there, I'm just picking up the bill for. Okay, because that's just the way I've been all my life. So, for me to do it, that's one thing. Now, the fact that I'm that way inclined does not mean everybody has to be. Okay. I've always billed myself as a spiritual guide. Okay, I've been doing this since I was 10 years old. Now, the reality is, in that respect, okay, the tools I offer people are tools that I personally use anyway. Now, my method is not necessarily the best method for you. Okay, one of the big things that I've always stood with is, well, I shouldn't say always. I was looking into the whole idea of charities. Okay, these great big charities helping people on the other side of the world. Okay, or even locally. There's these registered charities, and they keep saying, "Send us your money so that we can help these people." Well, that's a great idea, and I do agree that they're necessary because they can accumulate a lot greater funds than an individual can. Now, the problem I have with it is the best of the charities that I've heard about, and there may be better ones, but the best of the charities that I've heard about they take 30 cents on the dollar that goes to the actual charity. Okay. Now, that said, the other 70% obviously has to go somewhere. Well, it goes to administration. Now, with that kind of top-heavy setup, I personally refuse to give to actual listed charities. I will give directly to people. Like the other day, I could have sold it. I mentioned that I had a shelf here in my house that I was getting rid of. Now, I could have donated it somewhere and had somebody get rid of it. I could have sold it. What I did was I found somebody that required it. And the only thing I got from them was room on my floor. Okay, the shelf went, it's out of my hair. It's gone someplace where somebody can use it. Okay, without it costing anything for anybody. I didn't resell it, so there's no tax being paid on tax. There's no double tax happening. I just simply moved it out of my house and sent it somewhere. Now, to me, let's say that shelf could have been worth, say, $30. Okay, instead of that 30 turning around and turning into $9 going to the actual charity, all 30 of it went to the charity. Okay, went to a single individual. Now, this is just the way I personally operate. Okay, I only promote 3 laws. Be true to yourself first. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. And energy out, energy in. Okay, those are the only 3 that I promote. And if you take a look at any other law that's out there, any other guideline, be it legal, be it religious, be it a support group, doesn't matter. Take a look at them. The guidelines that are there, from everything I've found and that I've researched, I find that every single one of the guidelines fall into one of those 3, which is why I promote those 3. Okay. Do I believe in a higher power? Absolutely. Now, I was raised as a Christian, so I refer to it as God when I'm talking to other people. Okay, I also refer to it as the prime originator, but then my memories date back a lot further than most. Okay, I can't say them all because there's another issue to that, but that's a long story. Okay, but I do remember past lives, and many of them I've documented. Okay, eventually one day I may end up, that's not actually a bad idea. I think that's actually a good idea. Which will make 33 books to work on at the same time. Okay. So, and yes, what I'm doing, I've got these sticky notes here. Okay, so what I'm doing is over here, this here is a metal filing cabinet. And it's working like a charm to work as a notepad at the same time. So we just moved the magnets over here out of the way. They can go on the front drawer. And then I've got room to put the sticky notes, and I can get them done and moved out of the way as well. Yes, I fidget. I mean, what the heck? I've mentioned that multiple times. But when it comes to redirecting the energy in your world, decide what you're not content with. Okay. Now, the big thing that I always look at, people have asked me, people have accused me of a lot of things, but here's the thing. I don't see a difference between myself and anybody out there, okay, as far as value goes. I will talk to people on the street or people that are multimillionaires with the same level of respect. Now, some people would call what I've got as not the greatest in the level of respect, because I'm absolutely blunt about what I'm looking at. In case you hadn't noticed, I read one post on Facebook the other day, and the thing was, the person asked, he had made a comment that, and I'm paraphrasing, but he made a comment that light workers, if you're claiming to be a light worker, if you're claiming to be after the future benefit of mankind, talking about there being a stack of bodies to make this possible isn't necessarily the best path. Okay. And, do I agree with him? Absolutely. Right. And somebody else under the same, in response to that post, posted a whole pile of negative stuff, and all I did was ask, where did this negativity, this, this borderline fear-mongering, well, no, it was blatant fear-mongering, how does that become positive? I got told point blank that the truth has to be told. Well, the truth does have to be told. Okay. But the reality is that the truth is it, and the truth as I understand it is this. If we focus, if we minimize the negative and we maximize the positive, we will find things happening in a very positive way. Okay. If you run your own company, for instance, if you've got an employee that's being a problem, this is how you minimize the negative, maximize the positive. You take that employee, if they're doing something wrong, take them back to the office, out of the public eye. Okay. Do what you feel is necessary in the way of reprimanding them in order to get the point across that what they've done is something that does not coincide with your guidelines. If they're doing something positive, don't bother taking them back. Right out in public, tell people this is what that person did on a positive nature. Okay, congratulate them in public. Because I will tell you, it'll have an absolutely incredible impact on your staff. Okay, both of those will. It's like I told another gentleman. Okay, another gentleman I was talking to. Okay, he was having trouble with with losing employees, and like I told him, I said, here's the thing. Okay, when you take a look at it, he was losing employees because he just they couldn't afford to stick around. So I asked him, it's okay, what does it cost to run a basic household in your city? So he answered the question, and then I asked him, what are you paying them? And he told me, so I did a quick calculation for him, and I looked at him and I went, double their income. Double their wage. He goes, well, what about their tips? I said, you never base somebody's income on their tips. If you want to hold the employee, pay them so that they don't have a reason to get another job. Okay, or to change jobs. Well, he followed that, and immediately, not only did he stop losing employees, but he had a whole pile of new employees trying to come to work for him, and he needed them. He was trying to open another restaurant. Okay. This, again, if you minimize the negative, okay, there's all sorts of ways of making a restaurant make more money. Okay. And yes, I'm not saying you should pay people, $30 an hour to stand there with their finger in their ear. If they're not doing the job and you're paying them well, just remember one thing, regardless of the job that you're offering people, you're offering them a given job at a given wage. Now, assuming that the wage you're offering them will support them in that job, okay, then when they accept the job, okay, then absolutely pay them a proper day's wage. Okay, if they're not willing to do the job, follow legal law. My understanding, at least in Kelowna, is you have to give 3 written warnings. Okay, follow the letter of the law. Give the warnings so that they do the job properly. Okay, and if they're still not doing it properly, cut them loose. Well, I don't want to take away their income. Well, think of it this way. If they're not doing the job, they're taking away your income. They are, and I'm going to use this term, it's probably the wrong one, but in my opinion, if an employee is standing there not doing the job they agreed to do for the wage that you agreed to pay them, essentially they're stealing from you. Now, you can't charge them with theft because they're not doing anything directly in that fashion. But they are taking your money without actually giving you fair work for a fair wage. Okay. And here's the thing. You take a look at any of the spiritual guidelines. Okay, and I know being raised in a Christian home, there was one that stood out really well, which was an honest day's pay for an honest day's work. Okay, well, if you're working for somebody, go in with the idea you're there to work for that period. If you're not happy with the job, find a new one. Okay, if you are happy with the job, then do the job. Okay, do not take this road that so many people seem to be taking, where they turn around and go, oh, look at that. Where they turn around and go, I'm going to do as little as I can get away with and get paid for it. Now, again, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, to our channel, and don't forget to hit that alarm bell to let you know when the next one comes up. I will be back again tomorrow. And until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.